We'd like to introduce you to the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum in Chaska, Minnesota. We are now in the perennial and annual area with waterfalls and pine trees. Just a beautiful area, but there's many parts to this arboretum, and we'll try to introduce you to quite a few of them. We're in the herb or herb, depends on where you are in this world, area. And right here are sage, and sage is always noted for, at least in Minnesota, part of the stuffing for turkey. And there's rosemary, and that is a really pungent Mediterranean herb. And in Arizona, they grow them in bushes this big. Somebody says, you want some rosemary, Melanie? I say, sure. So I get about 3 of those plants. They just chop it off their own. Behind there's coriander, and there's all sorts of wonderful things here. Thyme. So I'd like this. But I'm beginning to dry it. I found out that you like to get fresh dill, the frond type one, and you chop it and you put it in the microwave for increments of 30 seconds. And probably
it's frozen?
No, then it dries up, and you just put in a little jar, and that's what you put in your sauces and your dips and all of that. So I'm starting to dry herbs, which is really kind of fun.
We came on free day and didn't even know it. And we saved some money.
Which is nice.
Like $15 each. The consequence is that there's a lot of people here. But that's all right, because there's daycare groups, senior citizens coming off of like care center buses, and a lot of families. And you know what? It's all good.
It is all good.
It's all good.
The Landscape Arboretum includes such things as natural areas, which would be woodlands, wetlands, or prairies, or formal gardens behind the trees for to check to see if they're winter hardy, if they're cold hardy trees, so it's a learning area too, and it's affiliated with the Horticultural College of the University of Minnesota. So it was established in 1907 to develop hardy crops such as I had mentioned earlier, honeycrisp and the Northern Lights azalea. Honeycrisp, I don't know if viewers in other parts of the U.S. have them, but it's one of the favorite apples of Minnesota. It's the largest and most diverse arboretum in, some say United States, some say Midwest, some say Minnesota, but it has 5,000 different types of plant material planted in this area. That is a lot of plants.
And there's a Mexican girl over there. Yeah. She's got her big floofy quinceañera dress on, and she's getting pictures in front of the fountain. Yeah. Beautiful.
Blue. Yes. It's blue and silver.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, she looks very cute. Pretty. She's got a little tiara type thing on.
Well, you can't talk about the Arboretum without mentioning Dr. Leon Snyder. He was a professor at the University of Minnesota Horticultural area, that college. And he was a co-founder of this newly established Arboretum, he and another guy. And he quit his full-time job and came to be full-time director of the Arboretum. He was a writer. He wrote many, many gardening books. He was also a radio personality. Once a month he went on Boone and whatever the other name is.
I don't remember.
And answered gardening questions. But I read an excerpt about one of his students had written that he was a kind man. Never had a word of
we like kindness.
Of discouragement. He always encouraged every student, said how wonderful their work was. Just loved his students, was proud of them, and wanted them to go as high as they could go. So he was a huge part of this garden.
Yeah.
What job would you like?
Yeah, I would
Gil?
love that job. How fun would that be?
Yeah.
Just tool around on that thing all summer long, mowing grass. That would be awesome.
Yep. I'd rather be picking the flowers and making bouquets.
But not weeding.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I weed, but not crazy about it.
Yeah.
What's the favorite color rose?
Oh, probably the red ones sticking up here.
They're gorgeous.
But they all look nice.
They do.
Never seen so many in one spot.
Coleus, and thought maybe it was worth talking about a little bit more. They come in so many colors and so many color combinations. They're a good one for the bottom of a big pot, and then you go something taller in the middle, or just plants, and they grow really easy. So something a person might want to think. I don't know if they're used so much anymore, but they should be. Gardens are made up of perennials, which is you plant and they come up year after year, if it's good conditions, or annuals. You plant and they're done that year. Now this planting around here is mostly annuals. Even like the tall calla lilies over there. You have to dig those roots out and you have to store them over the winter and then plant them again the next year.
Ooh,
the roots
a lot of work.
Most of this here is annual. It'll all be pulled out. This is canna lilies, and you plant them in the spring and they grow to this and they bloom. Aren't they gorgeous? But then they're done for the summer. So you dig them up and there's many bulbs underneath it, and you store those over the winter, and then the next spring you do the same thing. But look at the leaves. They're such a different burgundy or dark wine color and green. Well, here's a shade garden, and I've grown a lot that's in the shade garden. I got a little piece of hosta from a friend down home, little piece about this big. Brought it home and I grew it, split it, grew it, split it. I had a whole hosta garden full, and then I gave it to, I think, 2 other people, and they got a whole hosta garden full. So, I mean, they don't like full sun, and I see them all the time along a driveway in full sun. If somebody doesn't know that they're shade plants. And I like to say,
so they're going to be, so they'll do better in the shade.
Oh, much better. I feel sorry for the poor plant.
Say it again.
The poor plants shriveling up in the sun. So we're just walking by, and I said, "Oh, look, we got a white garden here. You know, white phlox and white dahlias and white daisies and white. Oops, I'm sorry. white begonias and white daisies and white phlox and white dahlias." And this is, I don't know what some of these are, but aren't they gorgeous?
I said earlier, Mom, how can we be such a good star at this? And she said,
I'm not a star, but it's kind of fun to be able to speak about all the things I've learned over the years. Because I've said before, I've been an avid reader about everything practically in the world. So this is fun for me to say.
There's a cute little daycare over there. They all have little orange shirts.
And they're marching.
And that was me back in college. I brought all my little preschool and school-age kids here and there. I remember being in charge, just like that lady is up there. And the beauty now is I don't have to be in charge of 20 kids.
Of just me.
Just you. Just have to be in charge of the star here.
Not a star. Just an avid reader with fair to middle in memory. Well, as many know that live in this country, the United States has lost a huge percentage of our prairies. We have very little left. It was claimed by immigrants that wanted to have their own farms and dug up into farmland. That's what the immigrants, the peoples were looking for, is their own land to grow their own crops and raise their own families. So much of it is gone. The Arboretum has set aside a certain amount of land here for prairie grasses, and that is the area we're in right now. I know Minnesota has done this in different parts of the state, set aside bought or whatever, leave it and for it to go back into the prairie the way it was. Now when the pioneers came and tilled the land, the root system was so deep, it was so hard. Oh my, those people worked hard to get down into but it was beautiful black dirt also. So they got down and they took down the trees and took up the prairie and planted staple crops for their own home use and then to sell. So this is it. This is
it's beautiful.
Kind of what the prairie looked. I do have a memory. I just looked at this and I said some of the prairie grass roots went down 10 feet. It knit the whole soil together, and it could take a deluge of water, and it would just suck it all up, the root system. And it was, again, that's the reason it was hard for those pioneers to get down into the topsoil. But yeah, it was such a fertile area. one hiding in the leaves. Magnificent. Well, they breed and hybridize and cross until they get all sorts of different colors and all sorts of different shapes.
All right, well, somehow we got off course of our 3-mile drive, and we never did see the Japanese gardens or a lot of stuff because we just kept following people, and we got out to a main highway. So anyway, we came back in and we discovered this part. It's called the Bee and Pollinator Discovery Center.
The bee population in many places, the world and the United States, is in danger. So, and a lot of it's pesticides, and there are areas being taken over by development. So. I would imagine that the Arboretum has set this up to see how strong the bee population is in this area and what they really are interested in getting the juices for their nectar from. We need to think about that, about the trouble with bees.
Yeah, because it's a big deal if they
don't
do well.
Them.
Right on.
We have nothing without them.
Right.
Because that's what pollinates all the crops.
Yeah, I'm really glad we came down here. It's in the southwest corner of the metro area, and it takes a little bit of time to come here, but it is very much worth it. It's absolutely beautiful. And you were saying before, if you can focus on me and not the butterfly.
I'm looking at the butterflies.
You were saying you didn't remember it being this extensive and beautiful.
It's been a long time since I've been here. So they've really added on a lot. So it is a wonderful facility for anybody who's interested in what we can grow in Minnesota, or what you could grow in your own garden, because that's a lot of it too. You just come and you see, well, that I'd like in my garden. Maybe I'll order that next year. So
yeah, and what could work in Minnesota to get through the winters, right?
Exactly. Just happy gardening.
Yeah, there we go. Happy gardening. And happy summer.
Yes.
Happy fall.
Yes.
Happy butterfly watching.